In this video, I'm going to show you how to manage patients in the data collection app. I've already created, as administrator, I've created a user account for somebody who will be managing patients, registering patients, obtaining their consent. I call this user FDR. I'm now going to log in as FDR. Okay, the only task that FDR has is patient management. So when FDR logs in, he sees this screen, which is for managing patients. What you will see here on the left, once you start registering patients, is you'll see a list of patients going down the left. Once you've got about a few thousand patients, scrolling down through this list to find a patient is probably not going to be very useful. But an alternative way to look for a patient you have already registered is if you click on the edit button, then you're asked to identify a patient by their patient number. You can go then straight to the information for that patient. Okay, but let's start with adding a patient in. So I'll click on a new button. I have to enter a patient ID. Patient number is a bit of a misnomer. We will correct that because the patient ID is how you identify patients in a clinic. I want to emphasize that this information will never leave the clinic. It is only used internally in the app while it is being used in the clinic. When we extract data, patients will be identified by a unique number that we generate to identify them that gives us no further information about the patient. Okay, so however you identify patients internally in the clinic, that's what you enter here. Just to avoid transcription errors like swapping of digits or whatever, we'll ask you to enter it a second time. Okay, so now you've got a screen where you can enter information about a patient. Okay, so I'm just going to save this for now. You'll notice that the app keeps track of when was the last time that information about a patient was changed and who did the change, for example. But I'm just going to save this information for now. Okay, and you can see that the patient is now over here on the left, listed as one of the patients added. You can always click on this to come back to this. So far, this patient is registered, but they have not provided consent. So until the patient provides consent, we will not extract any of the information for that patient, any of the data for that patient. So in order to enable data extraction, the patient must provide consent. So either at the time that you registered a patient or perhaps later when a patient comes back in, you can register a patient from the screen by pressing the consent button. You'll notice there's a patient study key, which is all stars. There is no study key for this patient because I have not yet given consent. Okay, so this is the consent dialog that has started. Let me pause this playback. Now you know it works. Let me explain that if you press on the text, you'll get this come up, which allows you to pause the video. It stays up for about 3 seconds. So just press on the text again to get it to come up again. Okay. Sometimes that 3 seconds seems like a long time. Sometimes it seems like a short time. Basically, at any point, you can pause the video and then restart it using this player control. Okay, I'm going to pause it so I'm not fighting with that person to speak. You'll notice there are various buttons on that display. I'm approximating it here with what I can do in XML. So this is the pause button, the rewind button. There's also a fast forward button and the play button to resume the audio. to control the volume, there are volume buttons on your device. Use those hardware buttons to control the audio. You can always scroll the screen. Just press on the screen, ignore the thing that comes up, press it again, and pushing up, and you can scroll that screen. Okay. Okay, so it seems to take a second press to get it to realize that actually this time you want to scroll this up and down. Okay, so you'll see this kind of a screen with text. The audio will play. You can pause the audio as I have done. For each one of the topics here on the left, these are the topics underlying the consent process. This is scrollable. Just press and push up. You can see at the very bottom, the patient provides their signature, and then a witness provides their signature. This witness, this is really outside the scope of this tutorial, but there are protocols that should be followed for interacting with the patient, for choosing the witness, and so on, which I will not go into in this video. I just want to explain the interface for this. The patient can read this text. If the patient, it will be in French, if the clinic is French speaking. The audio will play for a patient who is either illiterate or has bad eyesight, or for whatever reason just doesn't want to read the text. When the audio is finished, come down here. Remember not to basically you need to provide consent, or the patient needs to demonstrate that they understood what they've just listened to or what they've just read by sliding this from no over to yes. And you'll notice when that happens, this topic gets checked on the left. So now you know that the patient has signaled that they understand the getting started, which is just instructions for following the consent process. One thing I want to warn you about is when you come down here to slide this over, or when the patient does, you want to be careful. If you touch the text, then that will come up and it will obscure this. So if that happens, so if I come down here to press this and I unfortunately press the text, just wait for this to go away and move down a little bit further. Okay, once the patient has demonstrated that they understand, we can move to the next topic. If the patient does not understand, then they can simply click the next button. So I can click this back. You notice the checkbox is gone now. So the patient does not understand, but the patient may choose to just go on to the next topic and at the end ask for further explanation. Okay, so this is just the next topic. Okay, that's understood. At any time, the patient can always go back to a topic. So I'm going to go back to getting started. And I've decided I do understand the instructions, so I'll check I understand. Okay, so clearly there are some details of contact information that need to be corrected here. This is a pre-release version that I'm using for these tutorials, so this will be fixed. But in any case, the main point I want to do here is to demonstrate how to use the interface. Assuming you have understood the introduction, click here. You can see that. You can click on the next button. So again, to pause it, just click on the text, press on the text. You will get this come up. It'll stay up for 3 seconds. At any time, if the patient decides that they would rather not provide consent, you can't torture them by forcing them to go through the entire protocol. Instead, they can always just press consent. So they will receive a dialog that says, please confirm that you wish to refuse consent. They click OK, they will leave the consent process. They can always come back and try again if they wish. For now, I'm just going to press cancel. I understand this. Again, this is now checked. And move on to the next topic. At this point, I'm just going to move very quickly through the remainder of these topics. You should have the basic idea at this point. Okay, we are almost finished. Okay, again, I pressed the text twice to get it to scroll up. Second press, I held my finger down and pushed up, and the text moved up. Okay, as a participant, I've almost completed the consent process. There are 2 more steps left. The patient provides their signature, and then a witness provides their signature. Okay, so I'll provide my name, and maybe I'm illiterate, so I'll just provide my X here, for example. It's just a matter, all you have to do is press down and holding while pressing down, move your finger across the screen. That's how you can do it. Okay, if at any time you mess up the signature, you can always do it again. Just press the clear button and then this. Notice again the patient still is able to leave this process if they wish. Okay, but at this point I've given my signature. Now, there's no next button. What I need to do now is save my signature. This is a very important step. This signature will actually be recorded as physical evidence that this patient has actually provided their consent. So I'll click the Save button. It says, and you'll notice on top, this now tells me it's now asking for the witness signature, and the patient's signature has now been filled in. If the patient changes their mind and says, I'd really rather not, then they can simply press the clear button and their signature will go away. Okay, now I've removed my signature. I better add it again. Okay, and let's say Dr. Nastas is the witness to my signature. I will not try to emulate our signature. I'm just going to assume it's a very simple letter like this. I think you'll find that your signature on a computer screen is quite different from your written signature. That would be my expectation, but whatever. Okay, I'm now going to click Save, and at that point we will have concluded the consent process for this patient. We'll have their signature, we will have Dr. Nasa's signature. The patient will have signaled that they understood everything. If they have not understood everything, then they can go back and ask questions about those parts that did not understand, those parts that are not checked here on the left. Okay, and the last bit of audio is just to inform me that I finished. Okay, I come back to patient management, and you'll notice the patient now has a randomly generated study key. This is used by us in the study. It is different from whatever ID you use within the clinic to identify patients. But for example, a patient might want to come back later and check their consent. So they might use the study key to check that their consent is properly stored, for example. One thing that I forgot to mention that I'll just mention now, when I gave my signature, I also gave my name. That's important, and also the witness provided their name. But it's important to understand that this is the only place where a patient name is recorded when they provide their informed consent. Okay, and don't forget to click the Save button when you're finished to save the changes. If you try to do something else, the system will warn you that you are about to lose your changes. Okay?